Welcome back to the channel. This is Holden from Classroom Camp. And today I want to talk a little bit about screen time. Specifically, there's an article I found on BuzzFeed with the headline that reads, "This former teacher just revealed the reality of iPad kids versus non-iPad kids, and parents need to pay attention." This was published by Alana Volko on March 28th, 2025. Now, what exactly does this former teacher have to say about iPads, their effects on children, and the effects of screen time on society overall? Well, we're going to answer that question here in this video, but before we get to that, I do have a quick favor to ask. If you could please like this video, that helps me out here on YouTube. Also, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of educational content, and hit that notification bell so you always get notifications anytime I post a new video. So let's take a look at this article. There is a lot to cover here, so I'm not going to go over everything. And so this all spawned from a viral video that I believe was on TikTok. And you can see the former teacher here, giving his thing inside of a vehicle. He's expressing all his ideas about how society is going down the hill basically because of iPads and screen time. It says here, amid the numerous challenges teachers face today, one question persists. How can we get students to pay attention? Across social media, in comment sections, and within teacher communities, more and more educators are expressing frustration over increasing difficulty of keeping students engaged. Recently, in a viral video that's since reached almost 1 million people, a former teacher outlined what he thinks are the potential consequences if this trend continues. This is something that I can attest to, the seemingly lack of attention of students and its ill effects in classroom life. It's just, something that has happened, I believe, due to the age of technology, and he's narrowing it down to screen time and things like that. So it says here, I'm a former teacher and I have this prediction of where we're going as a society. Mike Bonitatibus, a former K-12 health and physician education teacher from Philadelphia, began. I think this has already been happening, but it's going to be more pronounced. We're about to see a splitting of society, and I don't mean anything political. Okay, so no civil war or anything here, but a splitting off of society. And he's going to go on to explain what he means by this. He says he believes society will eventually divide into two groups: those who have grown up with constant, unfiltered internet access, and those raised with some degree of digital moderation and boundaries. And I don't think that it's this cut and dry. There's one side and another side. I think that this is a spectrum. So yeah, there are some students who have severely limited access to the internet, and those who are just on their phones at all hours of the day, and then there's everywhere in between. So already I can tell you, I understand some of the things that he is saying and that he's going to say, but I don't think it's just as cut and dry as he's putting it out. I think that the families and people who are raised with moderation are going to have a difficult time interacting with the people who have had unfiltered internet for their whole lives, he said. Mike explained that teachers are already seeing the adverse effects in the classroom when kids are raised by iPads or have complete unfiltered screen time. One of the biggest issues that's coming from it is the complete inability to control and understand your emotions. And that's really what I find particularly interesting, is not necessarily the screen time itself, but its effects on children. This guy is basically saying that, hey, kids who have limited access to screen time, they're going to be more social. They're going to have more social skills and be able to interact in society, whereas these students who are on their iPads or just on their screens all day, they're going to have difficulty regulating their emotions. They're going to have lower attention spans, less emotional intelligence, prone to anger and instant gratification and things like that. A lot of this, to me, it really is common sense. He says constant unfiltered access to cell phones contributes to issues in the classroom like poor impulse control, difficulty focusing, strained relationships, a sense of entitlement, narcissistic tendencies, students feeling entitled to have immediate access to what they want without interference, so on and so forth. He says the divide became really clear through emotional highs and lows. He continued explaining how screen dependency manifested in the classroom. Students who had unlimited access to screens really struggled with rules and boundaries, particularly when it came to being told no. So he goes on, and like I said, this is a very long article because I believe he posted multiple videos on this. And so I'm not going to go over this entire thing, but I do want to comment on it. Now, the article also does, I'm not sure if it's this article or another article, but other teachers kind of chimed in and agreed and also expressed their concerns relating to screen time and how it is affecting students in the classroom. Well, is this solely the result of screen time? I think that we probably don't have enough studies to give any definite evidence on that, but I think that it is almost undeniable that the generation of children we have these days is much different than generations in the past. Like I said, I read a couple of articles about this, and I can't remember if it was this particular teacher here or another teacher, but they were saying that they had to teach their kids how to play outside, like on the playground. Like some of the kids that they dealt with they spent so much time on screens that they didn't know what to do when they were outdoors. Like they couldn't figure it out. They're like, what are we supposed to do out here? There's no phones or anything like that. And, I think he or someone else also reported that some kids spend 10 or more hours on their screens a day, and that also children were staying up at late hours of the night on their devices, and students were coming in sleepy. I can definitely attest this is something that I've seen as well. Now, whether or not that differs much from my generation, I couldn't tell you because I don't know the research on that. And I also don't have children of my own, so I don't know how. I've never had to limit screen time. I just don't see this thing. But I can tell you this, that I know someone who has 2 children, and these children have iPads. And they do spend a lot of time on their iPads. Instead of taking up time watching television on the family TV, they might be on their iPads playing games or watching their own TV shows on their iPads. Now, is this any different from my generation? Because television is television. When I went home and, after I got off of school, Toonami came on Cartoon Network. And I was always looking forward to that episode of Dragon Ball Z. The new episode of Dragon Ball Z was going to be coming on. And then when I was in high school, I had my MTV shows, Next, Room Raiders, Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, the Gauntlet, Real World, TRL, all those things. I mean, we have had screens for many generations now, whether it is, iPads and phones. I think that given it is a little bit less, we had TV, but we didn't have portable devices that we could just carry around all the time. So I'm sure that there is some difference. And like I said, I don't have all the research on this. And do I think that society is going to come to a divide? I don't think that is necessarily the case. He says that he dwindles it all down to, iPad kids versus non-iPad kids, I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. Is that there's one sector of society that doesn't use as much and one that does. I think that this is a spectrum that we see. There's a gray area of technology and screen usage. So it's not like there's just some splitting off. Do I think that screens have an effect on the demeanor of children? Yes, I do, because I think that the more time that you spend on screens, the less time you're probably actually socializing. You know, kids can hide behind a phone. They can get on Instagram and post in comments and post just horrible, mean things that they would never say to someone in person. So I think that, you know, some kids that do spend a lot of time on the internet probably take those types of things that they do online. They take their online social skills or lack of skills into the real life, and they don't translate very well because you can't interact with people the same way you do on social media. So I do think that there is an effect, and they probably have less emotional development than those kids who have less and spend time actually talking to people, sitting at the dinner table or the lunch table without a phone or something in their hand, and so on and so forth. But look, I could go on rambling about this all day long, and that's not the point. Those are my ideas, but what I am here for this video, the reason I made this is because I want to hear from you all as teachers and as parents. And for the teachers out there, what are you seeing in your classrooms? Do you think that screen time has had a significant effect on students' behaviors in the classroom? Let me know down in the comment section below. Do you agree with this former teacher? You know, is there going to be a divide in society? Or do you agree with me on the fact that I think that there is a spectrum? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're a parent, what type of, if at all, what types of rules and expectations do you have in place at home for screen time with your children? Are you allowing your children unlimited access to screen time? Are you limiting their screen time? And if so, what are some strategies that you use that other parents can take inspiration from in order to avoid this seemingly divide in society, or doomsday as I'm thinking of it, that this teacher is speaking of? What are your strategies? How do you handle it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Really, that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you for watching. Once again, help me out here, please, if you can, by hitting the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this video. You don't have to. And also, don't forget to hit that notification bell if you do subscribe, so you get notifications anytime I post a new video. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.